Okay, we will begin with the first test, which is a test if the database is created when the program is first run, and the database should include all the tables, all the correct tables, so we can test running, and yeah, we can see that it's been created. We can check, it has 4 tables, which it should, and they're all correct. Now, the second test, the guest button. It should enter the guest mode and draw all the correct widgets, which it does. Account, object creator, and sandbox. That's a pass. The account button from the guest state which we're currently in should go back to the account managing page. And it does. And we can see that. The sign in button goes to the sign in page. Yep. There we go. Now the text boxes. Test number 5 should be able to enter. Yeah, we can. So let's actually just enter name 1, 2, 3. And then test number 6, sorry. Create account button should create an account and log the user in. So let's see, and it does log us in. You can see because we get these options. And now test number 7 is that obviously we should see our account in the user table, so we can check here. Refresh, and yeah, so we're giving user ID 1 because we're the first entry. A username is name and password is correct. We gave that those parameters. So now test number 8, create scenario. So here we will enter a random sandbox and we will create it. So test number 8, sorry, is a pass because we filled out all the criteria. Number 9, create button. So this should create the entry into the scenarios table with this name. We can check here, scenarios, and scenario ID is 1 because we're the first entry, and the name is correct, and the user ID matches our one that we're currently. Okay, so now we'll be testing the object selector. This drop down should be opened when I press on it, and it should show all objects, which it does. So this is a pass. Number 12, we should be able to select an object, and then number 13, when we move the cursor around the screen, the object that we have selected should be drawn onto the cursor. So we can see that we can select any object and it is drawn wherever we move. So those 2 pass. Now number 14 is spawn object when the user clicks. So this is without initial velocity and just spawns wherever you click, which we can see that it does. Now we can test number 15. We can do number test 15, which is the object is stationary when user holds the mouse button down. So here I'm holding the mouse button here, and wherever I move, it doesn't matter, the object stays in its initial place. Now number 16, spawning the object with initial velocity, and the object should travel in the direction that it's released in, so wherever the trajectory shows. So if I release it, we can see that it obviously moves. Now we will test that the objects do in fact experience gravity. So spawn an object here and maybe a star, another one here, and we can see that they are clearly being attracted to each other. And we can add more, and we can see that they do attract each other. Now we will test for the reverse button. Now this should reverse the simulation up until the last save point. For this case, when I spawn it in, spawn this object in, this will be the last save point. And it should just reverse it, and you should be able to turn it off as well, and it should continue like it would without the reverse. So we spawn it in, you can see that it has some initial speed, and we'll reverse, and we can see that it backtracks in all the positions, and then this is actually test number 20, reverse until start. So we'll do it again. It reverses until the point it was spawned in, and then it deactivates it because it can no longer reverse, as that is the start. Now we will test the pause button and the select objects button. But first the pause. So the pause should do exactly that. Should pause all the movements. So we press it, and we can see that there is a pause in the simulation. Then we can play, pause, however many times that we would like. Now the select objects. This should allow the user to select and view all the information about any of the objects that are being simulated. So press, we can see that some information pops up, different for each one, corresponding to their own properties. So we can see that they even change. If we add stars, we can see, oh, oops. But yeah, we can see when we play that their values change. Test number 23 and 24 regarding the time functions that speed up or slow down the simulation or pause. So we will test the speed up first. We should be able to see a visual increase in speed. Yeah, we can. The particle is moving much faster, which means the simulation is also running faster. Now the minus button should slow, and we can see that it does slow the object down. Now, test number 25, we should be able to keep pressing this until the simulation enters a paused phase. So we'll keep going until this moment. We can see that the simulation is paused because the objects are not moving anymore. We'll do test number 26, which is when the time step is 0 from the user decreasing it, the pause button or play button should work. So regardless of whether you pause the simulation with repeated pressing of this or using the actual pause function, it shouldn't make a difference. So we'll spawn an initial object with velocity. You can see that it's moving. Now we'll obviously pause it. We're using this, and this button should work, and it should play it, which it does. You can see it's moving very slowly. And obviously these buttons will still work. So that's test pass. Now we will test test number 27, which is about the acceleration button here. It should show blue lines that vary actually with the magnitude of the force. So we'll set initial objects and we'll turn this on so we can see the blue lines drawn, and we can see that as they get closer they increase in length, which is corresponding to the acceleration, which we can see up here. So as they get closer, you can see increases, and so do the lines, which is what should be happening. Now we will test 28. The acceleration should be correct. So this means that all of the objects should have a center of attraction where they will all be attracted to, and we can test for this with the acceleration lines in the pause state. So I set 2 here. Obviously they are going to be attracted to this point here, kind of imaginary. Now if I put another one, we can imagine that the force will be acting towards this. All of them should be pointing towards here because of the all the forces acting on the objects. So you can see that they change, and then if I put one here, it should all balance out and they should all point towards here again. And we can actually just see how they change the more objects we put, which is true. So that is a pass. Now we will test do test number 29, which is the velocity button. So this should show the velocities of each of the objects. So we can see the line extends and it actually gets bigger. As the speed increases, the magnitude changes, the magnitude of the line. So as it's decreasing now, it's going to go to 0, and we can see that the line varies. So that's a pass. Gravity button toggles gravity simply. So if we have 2 here, like this. Then if we turn it off, we can see that they are no longer experiencing traction. If I turn it back on, you can see the velocity start to change because they are being attracted to one another. Now, the acceleration line is disappearing. So when gravity is off, there should be no acceleration lines drawn because there is no gravity. So there's no force. So turn off gravity, and we can see gravity is off, no acceleration. We can turn it back on as many times as we like, and it works. Perfect. Border button. This toggles a border around the screen, which is useful for if the user wants to keep all of the stuff inside the field. So we'll actually test 32 and 33 at the same time, which is 33 is objects bouncing when the border is activated. So when they hit, they should bounce off with the correct momentum and such. Speed it up and turn the border on, and they should bounce, and they do. So we can actually spawn in more, and we can see the velocity change as well as they bounce. And we can toggle it off, and they don't bounce anymore. Now we will test the reset button. Actually, I have been using it this whole time, so we know it works, but just for now, we'll see it just resets the playing field. Like, no matter how many objects you have, resets. Now I will be testing the collision detection and handling parts of the software, which is test 35, 36, 37, and 38. So for 35, we'll turn on collisions, and it should be turned on. We'll see in a second if it passes. 36, so the sum of the object's mass should be equal to the new object's mass. So they both have the same mass, so the new object should have mass of this, but with a 2. Now 37 is seeing if the conservation of momentum algorithm works. So we have in this software there is principles of conservation of momentum for colliding objects, so they should exhibit that correct behavior. We'll be able to see. 38 checks if the object, these two objects, the old ones that collide, should be deleted when the new object forms. So we'll be able to see and double check with this acceleration. There should be no acceleration because the new formed object will be by itself with no other objects affecting it in any other way, and that's how we know that they've been deleted away from the simulation. So now we will continue and play. So collisions toggled, and they should work. As we can see, conservation of momentum is valid, the mass is valid, and there is no force, clearly. So all of these are a pass. Now we will test the save button. As we are logged in to the account we created, and we're in the scenario we created as well, should be able to save all of the information. So we'll quickly just put random stuff, and then we'll hit save, and this should create this entry into the database. So we can actually check in the database into bodies. We can see these are all the bodies that are attached to the scenario D of the one we're currently in. These objects each have an ID and the data that they hold, like the momentum and stuff. Now the main menu button should return us, test number 40, main menu button, should return us to the main menu, which it does. Now the account button on the logged in state should return us to the account, which it does. Login button, enters login mode, that's a pass. 43, login to existing account, so we only have one. So this was the details, name and 123, and we should, there we go, logged in to that same account. Load existing scenario. Now this is the one we saved earlier, sandbox. Now when we load in, we should see all of the objects that we saved in the state that they were saved in. So we had a couple planets here, and the sun, that's what there should be on the screen, which there is. Everything is right, correct momentum, everything. So that is correct. Okay, now I will test the object creator, test 45. When I press this, it should enter the object creator mode and draw all the widgets. So as you can see, we're in the mode and all the widgets are as they should be. Now for 46, it's the text box check. So we can check that we can write when we can. Now when I draw on the radius, test 48 will be like we can see test 47, sorry, that the object is drawn in the center. So when I enter a radius, we see it varies. Obviously, if you draw it too big, it's gonna go off the screen, but the object is drawn accordingly to the radius. Now color selector. So right now it's on white. We have to check that, yeah, they work. We can verify with the object in the center. So this is what the object would look like when it's created. Let's enter a name. Okay, maybe not that. Let's do just one. Okay. Now for 49, test 49. Let's test that all colors work. So see yellow, blue, green, orange, and white. So they all work. Let's create it with orange. Now the create button. This should save this object to the database in the correct table, and this should also enable us to spawn it in to the sandbox. So we can check both of those. Now we'll create, and we can go in here, and when we refresh, yeah, object 1, we see it has its own unique body ID that will not change, and link to our user. So that all works. Now we have to go main menu. Actually, let's create a new sandbox 2 to test. Here it is, new object. So that's test 51, checking. Doesn't create if integer not 0, so we actually have to go back. That's the next test in here. So let's set the mass to like not int, not integer, and it shouldn't be created now. So let's change the name. Right, it shouldn't be created. We can check here. Look, I'm refreshing. It's not here because it's integer. It's not integer, sorry. But if I do mass, color, whatever, obviously it will be created here. So that all worked. Object spawned. Now we have to go and actually try it out. We're actually going to the one I created. Here it is. And we actually have 2 to spawn now, but they should be able to. We can just test it out easily, like this. Oh, they have low mass, so they won't really accelerate much. But they do have velocity. You can click. Yeah, the mass is correct. Everything seems to be working. So test this one. These ones will gravitate more because they actually have a higher mass. So they do actually accelerate a tiny bit. But yeah, everything works. Next one. Create object with username. So we have this object. So we'll just change some values, I guess. Yeah, make it more massive. We shouldn't be able to. Right. we shouldn't be able to create a new one. Yeah, as you can see, nothing changes. The file size doesn't change, which means it has the same properties, and this didn't change either. So that's it. Now, the guest mode save button. Oh, this is okay. So now we can check in the guest mode. Where's account guest? And when we enter Sandbox, there should not be a save button, because the save button should only appear for the users that use accounts. We can see no save button here, which is a pass. Now, you shouldn't be able to create an account with the user username, so let's try that. So the username that's used here is name123, and just a password random one, doesn't matter. Create, and we can check. As we can see, the password didn't change, so we can tell that it's the same entry and the user ID is the same. So same entry. And you can't log into an account with a different password. So we can check that by going here, login. So name and password, the real password is 123. We'll just do that. No matching user found. You can see, because the passwords don't match, you're not allowed in. And if we enter the correct one, obviously we're allowed in. For test 59, the objects are deleted. Okay, so we enter the sandbox mode. The object that is outside of the bounds of the simulation should be deleted. So we can check this by first of all launching an object and pressing on it to get the information. Now the information will stop when the object is not non-existent in the list, right? So that's how we can check. So we'll select it, and once it goes out, since the border is not activated, it should be deleted. And there we are. Right. We can check again, but the same thing's gonna happen. They're all deleted. So this is used to save memory for objects that are outside that you're obviously not going to be able to see and are not going to be relevant to your simulation. So now for 60 to 60 multiple accounts. So this is checking if the user ID is correctly given to new accounts. So we'll go here. We already created one, so we'll create another one. Test. And it doesn't matter what password, just do whatever. Right. Now we can check. In here, refresh. Here we are. So we can see the user ID is incremented, and this is the new account. We can make as many accounts as we want. This is suitable for all students in the classroom to make their own accounts and scenarios. Now, test 61. Same name scenarios. So for this one, we have to log in to each one and create a sandbox with the same. So let's call it 1 because it's easy. On this one, we'll spawn a star, and then we'll log into our other account that we made. We'll create another one with the same name. We'll put 2 stars, right? We'll save. Oh, actually, I forgot to save the other one. So in the other one, there should be no stars. In this one, there's 2 stars. So now if we load, is the correct one, right? We can go check. Load 1, and there's nothing. So it loads correctly, even though there are scenarios we can see here with the same name, but different scenario ID and different user ID, which is the most important. So you only load the one that's linked to your account.